Task number one in here for the purpose of manipulating the operator overloading feature, we are going to create a class which is taking care of defining the center of a circle, and this center has to be manipulated later on to make actually addition of centers, the distances, and calculating the distance in between circles, and so on like that. So we see where we need the constructor to be overloaded, and at that time we will make the constructor overloaded. Actually, we have a view of a solution as a print screen in your guide, but even though, let's just dig in and solve the thing actually step by step together. Because of that, I'm starting my online compiler. Immediately I'm going to start a new work from the beginning, so I do not need anything inside the main, so let it be empty. Okay. As per the request, I'm going to create my class. Give it the name circle here. Okay. Terminate my class. In my class, I'm going to define an access specifier that has to define the position X and the position Y of the circle center. Good. And then after, I'm going to define, let's say, a method. Nothing, just this enough, just this enough. Okay, here, I'm going to initialize, I'm going to, let's say, initialize the first parameter. First of all, let me just do the thing actually with a method, so public set X in, let's say, A, something like that. Okay, in between here, I'm going to say X equals A, and also set Y, use the parameter B, and we say the Y equals B. Good. What is this X? It's the one in our scope. It is the local variable, publicly accessed. And what is the Y? It is the same thing. The Y actually is the variable Y from the local scope, the same circle. I'm going to change here the thing to be private to make it be only accessible through the circle only members, which are the set X and the set Y. Great. Let's come to our main. If I execute, nothing will happen. I believe that there is no error, but here we have errors. He's saying that we have errors for this declaration of set X. Yeah, exactly. Why? Because this set X and set Y, they are methods. And since they are methods, we have to give data type here. So void here, it's a procedure only. And void here also, there are two procedures only. Execute. Okay, nothing, no output at all. Let's come back to the main. I'm going to create an object from this circle. So here, copy, and here, paste. I'm going to say here, obj, for example, and then after, obj, let's say here, I'm going to change the name. I'm going to say C. And then after here, I'm going to say C dot set X. In between here, let's say 2. And C dot Y, C dot set Y. I'm going to say here 5, for example. Something like that. Okay. Let me execute. Any output? No. Still empty. No errors and no output at all. If I type the following here, C out, let's say here circle position is less than here. I'm going to say C dot X less than space C dot Y semicolon. Let's see now. I have an error. I have errors, not even one error. Okay, he's saying the X is not accessible here, and the Y is not accessible here. So both of them, they are not accessible. Why? Because we are setting it to be private. If I change it to public, but here we keep them as public, I'm gonna create a method. Let me just see, come back to the class. I'm gonna say here void display circle center. It's a method that starts here. I'm going to say here, I'm going to just paste. I'm going to cut this C out, cut it, and paste it here. Okay, and let me call this method now, just to call through this C object. So C dot paste this circle. Simple. This same method I'm calling, execute. I still have an error. He's saying it was not declared in this scope. Yeah, because he's saying the C here is not declared. No, here we do not use the C to access the X, nor the Y. Directly from the same circle class, directly we write X and directly we write Y. Let's see now. The circle position is 2, 5. 2, 5. I'm going to say here, comma. I'm going to add a comma to separate them. Let's execute. Yes, 2, 5. So it works very fine. Here we are initializing, and we are getting the output in a very fine way. It works very fine. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to just make something different a little bit. I'm going to just sum the position of X, or I'm going to multiply. I'm going to just move the circle. I'm going to move the circle to the next position. See, I'm going to declare a method. I'm going to say it's a procedure. Let's say move circle. Yes, here. Okay, let me just use the scope, something like that. Here I'm going to say X equals X plus 2. Or let's say equals 2 multiply X, and the same thing for the Y, equals 2 multiply Y, 2 positions. We multiply them actually. Something like that. So let's say X plus X. X plus X, and here Y plus Y. So we're just moving the position, the circle, from 2. Let's call this move circle after this display. See here, after the display, I'm going to say C dot move circle. Let's see what would happen. Any change? No, completely no. There is no change. The same, 2, 5. I execute again. The same, 2, 5. Nothing. Let me just change the order here. I'm going to bring this circle before this move circle, before the display. By the way, there is a typo here. Display, it's with DS. Display. I'm going to change it here also. Display. Okay. Let's execute now. Yes, it gets changed. It became 4 10. What is 4? It's 2 plus 2. What is 10? It's 5 plus 5. It works very fine so far. That's good. What did we do now? We moved the position of the circle by making a simple addition formula here, which is, we suggest that we are going to move by 1 step the X and by 1 step the Y. I'll keep this program as such. I'm going to open a new compiler. Compare later on. The same program I copy pasted. And what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to move the circle. I'm not going to move the circle by 1 step. I'm going to make an addition just to go from a circle to another. What does it mean? I'm going to delete all of this thing here. I'm going to create C1 and C2. Later on, I want to display the sum of, I'm going to create another circle, C3. And this C3 will be having position of the C1 plus the position of the C2. The position of C2. Yeah, that's it. Then after I'm going to display the C3, I'm going to say here cout, C3, for example, C3. I keep that like that. It's with errors only, but even though, just to make you understand only, it's with errors. But even though here, the first problem here, the first error is here, the operator plus does not go with summon C1 plus C2. As we said earlier in the theory part, we cannot sum objects. The addition here, it is an operator that has to sum values. The value here, C1, what is it? It's an instance from the class circle. The C2, what is it? It's an instance, it's an object from the circle class. We cannot sum them like that. The sum does not understand. We cannot sum a circle plus a circle. We can sum 1 plus 2, an int plus an int, a float plus a float. We can sum even strings to concatenate or to sum the values in an ASCII value. This is accepted. But summon objects like this, directly straightforward, no. We have to customize the work with the C++ to avoid this error here. We have to solve the problem differently. What does mean to solve the problem differently? Means we have to find a solution how to make the plus operator works fine. When we say C1 plus C2, it has to give result. It does not have to give me error. I do not have to accept any errors. Because of this reason only, we have to refer to the operator overloading. In our case here is the plus. The operator is the plus. And the question of the question here, if we come back, yes, let's come back here. He's saying use the constructor overloading feature to sum two circles positions. So let's solve this problem here. Let's just begin and solve this issue only. We have the solution, but even though, let's solve it together. Because of this, I'm going to create a new method. Actually, this is the method I'm going to use to solve the problem of the operator overloading. I'm going to create a constructor named circle, and it would use actually the operator here in this constructor. It would use the operator plus as an indicator that we are overloading the operator. What is it? The plus. Just making this constructor give the function or the behavior to this operator. Simple like that. The annotation has to be like that. And I'm going to pass a parameter to this constructor. The constructor has a scope. Here it is. It starts here and it finishes here. We'll have a process here. But even though I'm going to give actually another parameter to make actually my work goes fine, I'm going to say circle C, for example, here. Circle C. This is the C. And let's say C. Okay, let's say C. Okay, C, whatever. Any name. It's user defined. I'm going to say here. I'm going to refer to this position early defined here and add it to the value of the circle passed here in parameter. So the value of this x in this class, the local x, will be added the value of this parameter circle x. And the same thing, the value of this y in this local scope here in this circle will be added to the value of the y from this parameter circle. How to? Simple. I'm going to define a new position, new circle. I'm going to say here circle, let's say C4 or C4, let's say, or C5, whatever. I'm going to say new C, new circle, new C, something like that. Define. I'm going to say here new C, but X, the position, it's a circle, no? So the circle, this new C, X would receive the X and this circle, here it is, plus the X from this circle here. How? C dot X. Simple. The same thing for the Y. New C dot Y. So the Y from this object here, from this circle, would receive the original Y from the local circle, this Y here, so straightforward data type Y, plus the Y from this C. here C dot Y. Simple. That's it. So it works very fine here now. Now we are making an addition because of the customization of this operator. See now, earlier when we did this one here, it's giving us an error. The problem here, there's a problem. Operator here, it has actually a problem. We cannot sum two objects. Let's keep going on now. Let's keep going on now here. Actually, after customizing this behavior here, I have to specify that I'm returning a new operator. So return a new C, the same object, the new object with the new X and Y. Good. Let's just try to execute only here. We are having still errors, yes, but it's not in the operator plus. It's something in the C3. It's not in the operator plus. It's something else here. What is it? I cannot type here C3, but I'm going to say, for example, C3.x. The X in the C3. Execute. Something else. Here, actually, what is it? Is a private within this something, actually within this context. So I cannot execute it. What does it mean? Come back here. It's a private here. Let me just change it to here. I cannot reach through directly here the object. I'm going to change it to public. To avoid such a view, such a problem, must specifier. Execute. And he's saying here, he's giving me a value. What is this value? We saw this one actually at the beginning when we saw the pointers. If you remember very well, this is the address of the X that we reached through this C3 here. Why? Because it's empty already. It's empty. So he's giving me the address of this X. I'm going to change something here. I'm going to just give it a value. I'm going to initialize it straightforward here, for example, 10. And the Y, I'm going to initialize it with, for example, 100. Or let's say any number here, 50, for example, 50. Execute. 20. What is this 20? It's the sum of the local X, which is 10, plus the C.x, the 10 from this X here. 10 plus 10 equals 20, and this is it. If I change this 10, for example, to 5, or let's say to 7, it has to give 14 here. Let's execute. 14. So it works very fine. Let me change the statement in the main method. So here, let's say here, double quotation, the new circle position is C3.x space C.y. That's it. Let me execute. We have an error. We have an error. Here is C3, not C. It's C3. Yeah, let me execute. Okay, the new circle position is 14, 100. What is 14? It's 7 plus 7. What is the 100? It's 50 plus 50. Here it is, 50 plus 50. 50 from here and 50 from here. Now we are making actually the sum of two objects. Circle plus circle. It's not giving us any error. I'm gonna create two objects. Another. I'm gonna say here, circle again, obj1 and obj2, or let's say 2. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna say here again. I'm gonna say let's create obj2 and obj3. Let's create an obj3 also here. Whatever. Same line. Whatever. No problem. I'm gonna say here obj3 equals obj2, sorry, 1, come on, 1 plus obj2. Object number 1 sum to the object number 2. This is strange, which is circle number 1 plus circle number 2. Will it work? Let's see. I'm going to change the C3. I'm going to just create second C out. Here, I change C3 with obj3. And here the C3, I'm going to change it with the obj3. A new line, I'm going to give a new line here and offline, and the same thing here to make everything each in a line. and offline. Good. Let me execute. The circle position is 1410. The circle position is 1410. It works very fine. So the new circle, I'm going to say here new circle. Let's see if it changes or not here. Yes, the new circle position is. So here we reached to make an operator overloading by customizing the work of this plus. Let's come back to the request. Here it is. The second part is asking us actually to persist to make the subtraction. Use the constructor overloading to make the subtraction. Let me come back to the same program here. Let me copy it. I'm going to keep this one as such. I'm going to open a new. Compiler. Okay. So here I'm going to give it a command here. Move back a circle using the operator overloading. Operator overloading. Move back. So we are going to deduct the position from. So here, instead of the plus, I'm going to make minus. Yes, I'll delete everything here. I do not need this one here. So C1, C3 receives C1 plus minus C2. The new circle position is C3 dot X, C3 dot Y. Let's execute. We have an operator minus problem here. An operator minus problem. What is it? We cannot make this operator here run. If I make like that here, actually hide this statement command, it will give us the original values. Yes, 7 and 50. 7 and 50. So very fine. C3 position X plus C3. Yeah, because we do not have any subtract. But if we do the subtraction, it's a problem. Cannot subtract an object from an object. Execute. Yeah, operator minus problem here. We cannot do such thing here. Actually, it's not allowed. It's not accepted. It's not understandable by the computer, by the compiler. We have to make an operator overloaded. To do so, I'm going to just generate a new circle. I'm going to generate a new circle operator overloading. So I'm going to say here circle. I'm going to say operator minus. But actually, we'll do the subtraction of a new, let's say C. When you see circle, also this one is a circle. So the new C position, a new C dot, let's say X, receives the original X, the original local X, minus, but an X that we pass an operator here as a parameter. So I'm going to say a new circle. I'm going to say C here, C dot X. But the same thing here. The new C Y equals the Y itself minus C dot Y. Good. Then after we return our what? New C. I'm going to return the same new C here. We call it. Why we make a return here? Because this is a constructor, actually. It's a constructor. So we may make, it's not a procedure, it's not a function, it's a constructor. So we may make the return. I'm going to execute. The circle position is 0, 0. Is it correct? Absolutely correct. We are deducting a value from a value. What is the value here? Dx. It's 7. Minus C dot X. See what is it? It's a circle. So the X of this circle is the same value here of this X. 7. So 7 minus 7 is 0. That's correct. So the value here is correct. 0. The same thing for the Y. So the Y, the new Y here, this new Y, is the original y, which is in our example here 50, minus the cy. What is the c? The c is a circle, it's the same circular parameter. The y of this circle is the same y in the local circle, so it's 50 again, so it's 0 also, it's 0. So is it correct now? Absolutely correct. It works very fine in this example here also.